Hello, YouTube. This is David Welch from the podcast David's Life and Observation. Just wanted to discuss primarily the Mesa assault from the Mesa Police Department to a young man who was ordered to sit down and he didn't comply with their demand to sit down. He sat against the wall, but he didn't comply, I guess, with the idea that you have to sit like a dog when being detained or being even arrested by the Mesa Police Department. So there's a camp out there that says if you don't comply with the officer's every whim, that there's justification for this level of force and this level of assault. Well, there isn't. There's no justification for what happened with the Mesa Police Department and this individual. And every individual cop that is in that video, every officer that was present that night, that didn't render aid to the gentleman who might have suffered a concussion after being repeatedly hit in the face and then elbowed in the side of the head as he was going down, all of them need to be fired and jailed. And not just this pleasant, oh, we need retraining, oh, Mesa Police Department, oh, we're a fantastic group of guys. But, I mean, in the day in and day out, you have to know that this level of animosity towards citizens, this level of force is being used against citizens that live in Mesa. But a lot of it's just not going documented, or if it is documented, it's being hidden by the police themselves. There is no accountability in the Mesa Police Department. We saw that with the young guy getting shot by the Mesa Police Department, who had no chance because those guys are simply thugs and they're out to kill people. I mean, the one officer that did shoot literally has "you're fucked" on the side of his weapon. I mean, that's the mentality of the Mesa Police Department. The mentality in the video in the camera that was released by the Mesa Police regarding this incident. The guy said one of those attacking the guy and hitting him repeatedly says, "This is what happens. See, this is what happens when you don't listen or don't obey their every whim and their every command." Now, you can be lawfully detained for a potential crime, which is exactly what happened. The whole story is a girl called about two guys trying to break in. One was her ex-boyfriend trying to get his stuff, and the other guy was the guy that was trying to help the ex-boyfriend move his stuff. She called regarding them having weapons, and that was found to be untrue. Now, I say this in respect to, I don't know what the other guy who was already sitting had in his pockets or had in his hands, or maybe he did shit. I don't know, because you don't see that. The other guy on the phone, though, was searched illegally. They shouldn't have gone in his pockets. They can do a pat down for weapons. They didn't find weapons, but they did go in his pockets, and he was on the phone. He was told to sit against the wall, and he literally did a wall sit against the wall, and that wasn't enough. And then, regardless of that, he was brutally attacked by 4 officers, 2 of which were hitting him in the face. And then they later put a spit bag on him, even though it wasn't confirmed that he was ever trying to spit on anyone. He was looking towards the officer. He was turning towards him. That doesn't mean he's going to spit on anyone. Now, the right move here for Mesa Police Department is to do what they're doing. They're getting ahead of it. They're saying, hey, this is reprehensible action. This doesn't look good. You know, the optics are real bad. You know, and there should be no policy. And there should be, and then for the Mesa Police Association to get out and say, these guys did no wrong. Of course you're going to back your fellow police officers. Of course you are. You'll never, ever, ever admit to them doing any wrong, ever. You won't. You simply won't do it. Because you guys are like the mafia and you believe the thin blue line bullshit, which is a desecration of our flag. And for you veterans out there who get pissed off when people burn the flag, you guys should equally get pissed off at the desecration of the flag that constantly happens in this country. But I digress. Now, the incident in question, they had a little bit of protesters out there, and rightfully so. They should have protesters out there. Now, it wasn't a big group, but there's a lot of people in the camp of, well, he should have just complied. Well, I'm sorry, but we have rights in this country. We have laws. And time and again, day after day, you can literally watch almost every day where law enforcement officers break the law themselves. They're total hypocrites. They're thugs with badges. You literally, here's what it is, taxpayers. You literally pay these guys to extort you, to take your money and your property, because they're still allowed to seize assets without there being a crime committed, or from the individual. They're allowed to, in several states, sleep with inmates or sleep with those who are arrested or detained. I mean, what the actual hell is going on? Why is that a thing? Why is it now that the Mesa chief did not hear about that incident until a week later after the incident? Now, from what I saw, it's a simple case of assault by every officer that was present, because there's collusion. They all committed the crime together. There's attempted murder in that situation, because after the guy was repeatedly hit in the face, that elbow at the end could have cost him his life, and then everybody's sitting on the man while he's unconscious and being cuffed. To me, that's attempted murder. All of them should go to jail for it. All of them should be in prison. Now, that's me taking a look at the actual law and see what's going on. I mean, the guy, I don't know if there was body cam evidence of it. Was the guy actually told he was detained? And if he is detained, he reserves all of his rights to plead the fifth and not answer any questions without the presence of an attorney. He reserves the right to not be searched with his personal effects and himself, which he was. He was searched before he was ever, I guess, told he was detained. And for the simple fact that you're not sitting on the ground against the wall like a dog, that warrants a vicious attack on you. I'm calling bullshit. That is straight bullshit. If it's within the Mesa Police Department's policy, well, I'm sorry. That's against the law. It's against the law. They committed assault. They obviously tried covering up the incident by the reports not getting to the chief. I don't know how that happens. I mean, they had to have perjured the shit out of some documents in order to land this guy with a crime. The only crime that I can see this guy even getting would be resisting arrest, which, if you don't know what you're under arrest for and there's no evidence of an actual crime, then that should be thrown, because it's a secondary charge. It should be thrown out. I mean, it's just ludicrous that the Mesa Police constantly under fire for this bullshit. What was it, 2 years ago, where they broke into a lady's house and damn near stripped her naked and assaulted her in the house? And then a year ago exactly, we have that shooting incident with the guy who had a pest gun, a gun he used for pests, and he was inebriated. And that was horrible optics for the Mesa Police Department. They couldn't give an actual command to the guy who was trying to obey all their commands, but they were doing it in such a way that scared the shit out of the guy, and they ended up killing him anyway because he was reaching for his basketball shorts. I mean, come on, Mesa. You don't want to be labeled the thugs of Arizona, and you guys are fucking doing a great job of it. You guys are doing a great job of earning the hate. See, you guys are the reasons. You guys are the reason good police officers get shot and killed. You guys always talk about, we're a family of blue. We're going to back the blue. We're going to help our brothers and sisters out there. Well, you guys earn the fucking hate. You guys are committing crimes in Arizona, and probably other officers and other departments are too. You guys are committing crimes, and you want people to think you're heroes. You want people to assume that you are the good guys when you go out and literally ruin lives every day. I can't even think of a good thing police do. They extort their own citizenry for money. They take money anyway. They're welfare queens because they take the citizens' money for their salary anyway. And they say they pay taxes, but they're only paying their own wages. They're paying into their own retirement at that point. So, and they're sovereign citizens. They believe they are above the law. They don't have to obey the law, and they have their contingency, their mafia to back them up. It's a sham on society. Law enforcement needs to be redone. The laws in the books. You can't do anything in this country without there being a law in the books saying you can't do it. It's either there's a law against it or you're being spied on or whatever the case is. There's big government up everyone's ass. And the local police departments and the sheriffs and the municipalities and the codes and the whatever have you, there's just a bunch of dumb shit on the books where people are constantly under the threat of having their money taken from them. It really only goes against the poor. The poor are unequivocally demonized and constantly accused of being criminals without all the evidence coming out. And you see time again where law enforcement in the United States perjure themselves constantly, and I haven't heard of one case where an officer has been accused and arrested and jailed for perjury. They don't have protection against perjury. They don't. They can lie out on the street, but when it comes to court, they take an oath. They also take an oath to swear. They swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, but they have become domestic terrorists. You know who the real heroes are? The real heroes are firemen, EMS, the psychologists that go out with police on tough cases, child protective services in a lot of instances. Not every instance, but a lot of instances. Those are the real heroes. Law enforcement officers, I really can't say the same for you guys. You guys are supposed to protect and serve, but the Supreme Court says you don't. So what is actually your job description? Your job description is to enforce law. And it's a sham because they break the law constantly. They enforce their will more than the law. And when they do enforce the law, it's easy to do when everything is illegal. Now, they always say dumb shit like, well, in this day and age, in this current climate where all this, surveillance and all these, terrorists are up to no good. I'm sorry, but the only terrorists that I see are the police. That's why we have an epidemic in this country where people are taking a knee in sports and in other areas during the anthem because they're protesting police brutality, and we see it constantly on people of color. This incident is no different. A man of color getting brutally beaten by the police. Come on. At what point do police officers put themselves in check? They don't. Because they investigate themselves and they find themselves no wrongdoing. How's that even a thing? How's that okay? Where's the accountability? Oh, well, we have internal affairs. I'm sorry, but internal affairs is a PR department. They don't actually do shit. They investigate. There's officers out there with hundreds and hundreds of complaints. Nothing happens to them. They just. Oh, well, I get let go from this police department. I can go to another one because they haven't taken away my credential, my post certification, in order to go be a police officer somewhere. So I'm just gonna go jump from department to department to department to department until I get my retirement. Then I'm golden. What a crock of shit. And it's welfare queens stealing from the people. And then they pull people over on the side of the road and harass people in the streets. And they solve a fraction of the crimes that are committed. They're not even a real deterrence because crimes are committed right near them. To go back to my main point about this particular case, the Mesa man getting his ass beat. It's just a small piece of the bigger problem in law enforcement. It's a small piece of the bigger pie of police brutality that persists and exists in this country. And it's going to take a gratuitous amount of either patience and lawsuits to make sure that policing in America gets right, or the alternative is you're gonna piss off a group one day, or a single person, or whatever have you, to the point where they go on an all-out war, which is what law enforcement tends to want anyway, an all-out war on the citizenry. I mean, they buy equipment from the military, or get equipment from the military, to use on citizens. It's supposed to be against the Constitution to have a standing army in the United States. But we have it. We have a Second Amendment right to bear arms, but nobody uses it to thwart illegal arrests, to thwart an oligarchy running this country, to thwart judges and police chiefs and sheriffs and all sorts of other motherfuckers committing crimes without any recourse against them. This is not the America that I swore to defend. The America I swore to defend allows people to have rights, allows people to allows people to be protected from bullshit like this. The guy posed no threat, committed no actual crime. He was accused of a crime. You should have done at least a mediocre of an investigation while he was sitting against the wall. Chose not to. Chose to just bully the man and arrest him for interfering, when how can you interfere with something you don't even know what's going on? Release all the footage. Release a transcript of what was actually said. Corroborate it with the guy if he's still conscious. I don't know. Maybe the police beat him in the hospital. Or was he even allowed to go to the hospital? I don't know. This guy was brutalized. He should be tested to see if he got concussion. I don't know if that's happened. Mesa Police, you need to get your fucking act together. This shit is bullshit. We're done. People are done with this bullshit. People are done with police brutality. People are done with the constant ignorance or the politicians ignoring this very thing. I mean, where's the city council in this? Where's the mayor? Where's the governor? Where's all the politicians that say, oh, we're for Arizonans, but then this shit happens? Why is that police chief's head not on a chopping block somewhere? Metaphorically speaking. Why are these officers allowed paid vacation? Why? No other criminal gets a paid vacation after they've committed a crime. No other criminal. But police are allowed every convenience to set up their affairs, to still get paid while they're under investigation. I mean, they're not even brought in chains and dragged in front of a judge when they're still bleary-eyed at 2 a.m. in the morning or whatever the case is. They're not sitting in the hot sun, in the heat. They're not sleeping on a hard-ass bed. Where is the equality in that? They get special treatment. This is why I call them sovereign citizens, because they are the only people that believe they are above the law. They are the only people that get away with murder, theft, and all these other crimes that we're supposed to have laws against. Police get away with it. It's going to need to fucking stop. And there's my piece.